High Admiral Thiessen Vorath stood at the center of the command bridge and watched another star system fall. The holographic display showed it clearly. 17 red markers where blue ones used to be. 17 systems lost to the Silreth Dominion in just 8 months. His scales, once bright silver, had turned gray from stress. He was running out of options. The Corvathi Alliance had ruled this region of space for 6,000 years. 12 species had joined together under their banner. They had the best ships, the best weapons, the finest military minds in the known galaxy. None of it mattered against the Silreth. The Silreth were not like other enemies. They did not negotiate. They did not retreat. They did not stop. Their bioships grew from living tissue and could heal themselves during battle. Their soldiers shared one mind across millions of bodies. When you killed one, the others learned from its death. They adapted to every weapon, every tactic, every strategy the Alliance tried. Thiessen turned away from the display. His officers watched him with tired eyes. They all knew the truth nobody wanted to say out loud. The Alliance was losing this war. Badly. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "the human ambassador has arrived." Thiessen felt his jaw tighten. Humans, the youngest species in the galactic community. They had only been traveling between stars for 200 years. Compared to races that had ruled empires for millennia, humans were children. Babies, really. But Thiessen had run out of other options. Every major power had already refused to help. The humans were his last hope, and he did not have much faith in them. "Send her in," he said. Ambassador Myra Chun walked onto the bridge with 2 aides behind her. She was small compared to the Corvathi, who stood nearly 3 meters tall. Her dark hair was pulled back from her face, and her eyes moved across the room, taking in everything. She did not look nervous. Thiessen found that strange. Most species trembled when they saw the scale of the Silreth threat. "Admiral Vorath," she said, bowing slightly. "Thank you for meeting with me." "Thank you for coming," Thiessen replied. He gestured toward the holographic display. "I assume you have been briefed on our situation." "I have." "Then, you understand what we are facing. The Silreth have conquered species that ruled galaxies before your kind discovered fire. They adapt to every weapon we use. Their numbers are endless. They feel no fear, no pain, no mercy." He paused. "Many believe this war cannot be won." Ambassador Chun studied the display for a long moment. Red markers spread across the map like a disease. Finally, she nodded. "We can handle it," she said. The bridge went silent. Thiessen stared at her. His senior tactician, a Palexian named Errol, made a clicking sound that indicated shock. Handle it? 200 years of space travel, and the humans thought they could handle a threat that had broken civilizations older than their entire species. "Ambassador," Thiessen said carefully, "I do not think you understand. The Silreth have destroyed fleets 10 times larger than anything humanity possesses. They have consumed entire worlds. They are dangerous, adaptive, relentless. Yes." Chen's expression did not change. "We've read the reports, Admiral. We understand what they are. And yet you say you can handle it." "Yes." Errol stepped forward. Her compound eyes glittered with curiosity. As the fleet's chief tactician, she had studied every species the Alliance had encountered. Humans puzzled her. Their military history was short but strange. They had fought wars among themselves for most of their existence. Terrible wars. Wars that should have destroyed them. And yet they were still here. "Ambassador," Errol said, "what exactly are you proposing?" Chem turned to face her. "Give us one system. Paraxis 7. It's currently under siege, correct? 3 million civilians trapped. The Alliance has already written it off as lost. Because it is lost, Thiessen said bitterly. The Silrath have blockaded all routes in and out. A full liberation would require resources we cannot spare. We're not asking for your resources. Chun's voice remained calm. We're asking for tactical autonomy. Let us handle Paraxis 7 our way. No interference from Alliance Command. No second-guessing our methods. Give us 90 days, and if you fail, then you've lost nothing you hadn't already lost. Chun smiled slightly. But we won't fail. Thiessen exchanged a look with Errol. This was madness. The humans had no experience fighting the Silrath. They had no understanding of what they were volunteering for. But what choice did he have? Paraxis 7 was already lost. If the humans wanted to throw themselves against the Silrath, at least it would buy time for the Alliance to fortify other systems. Very well, he said slowly. You have your 90 days, Ambassador. I hope your confidence is not misplaced. It isn't. Chum bowed again. We'll be in touch. She turned and walked off the bridge, her aides following behind her. The doors closed. Silence filled the room again. Sir, Errol said quietly. Permission to speak freely? Granted. I have been reviewing human military records. They are unusual. Unusual how? Errol's mandibles clicked as she considered her words. In their entire recorded history, humans have never lost a war of survival. They have fought among themselves constantly. Civil wars, world wars, conflicts that killed millions of their own kind. But when faced with extinction, when their survival as a species was threatened, they've always found a way to win. Thiessen snorted. They have never faced anything like the Silrath. No, Errol agreed. But their records mention something interesting. A concept their translator renders as adaptation under pressure. When pushed to the breaking point, humans do not break. They change. They become something different. Something more dangerous. Poetic words mean nothing against Silrath bioships. Perhaps. Errol watched the doors where the humans had departed. But I find myself curious, Admiral. The ambassador showed no fear. Not because she was hiding it. Because she genuinely was not afraid. That is either stupidity or something else entirely. What else could it be? Errol turned her compound eyes back to the star map. Paraxis 7 blinked red, surrounded by enemy markers. I do not know yet, she admitted. But I intend to watch closely. Something tells me the humans are not what we think they are. Something tells me we are about to learn what happens when a species born in war meets an enemy that has never known defeat. Thiessen said nothing. He wanted to dismiss the idea. He wanted to believe the humans were simply naive. But a small part of him, a part he did not want to acknowledge, felt something he had not felt in months. Hope. He crushed it down. Hope was dangerous. Hope got people killed. But as he stared at the map, he could not quite make it disappear entirely. 90 days. In 90 days, they would see what humans were really made of. The human fleet arrived at Paraxis 7 on a Tuesday by Earth reckoning. 12 ships. Admiral Thiessen counted them 3 times because he could not believe what he was seeing. 12 ships against a Silrath blockade of over 2,000 bio-vessels. This is suicide, he muttered. YRREL stood beside him, watching the same feed. Her compound eyes tracked each human vessel as it took position. The ships were strange designs. Sleek and dark, with angles that seemed wrong somehow. They did not look like warships. They looked like shadows given form. Their flagship is called the Defiance, Earl noted. Commanded by Captain Yuki Tanaka. The overall operation is led by General Marcus Webb. I do not care what their names are. I care that they have brought 12 ships to fight 2,000. Perhaps they have a plan. Perhaps they are fools. For the first week, it seemed Thiessen was right. The human ships did nothing. They sat at the edge of the system and watched. Silrath probes approached them, testing their defenses. The humans repelled each probe with precise, economical force. No wasted shots. No pursuit. They simply defended their position and went back to watching. General Webb commanded from the Defiance. He was an older human with gray hair and calm eyes. He had fought in something called the Martian Insurgency, a human civil war that had nearly torn their species apart. His officers respected him. His soldiers trusted him. But even they seemed confused by his orders. "Sir," Captain Tanaka said during their second week, "the Silrath are reinforcing their positions. If we wait much longer, breaking through will become impossible." Webb nodded slowly. He stood at the tactical display, studying the enemy formation. "How are the evacuations going?" "Ahead of schedule. We've pulled 60% of the civilians out through the asteroid corridors." The Silrath don't seem to consider those routes important. They don't think in terms of individuals. A few thousand humans escaping doesn't register as a threat to their hive mind. Webb traced a line across the display. "What about Dr. Mwangi's teams?" "They've collected samples from 17 dead bioships. She says she's making progress." "Good. Tell her she has 2 more weeks." Tanaka hesitated. "Sir, permission to ask what we're actually doing here?" Webb looked at her. His expression was patient, like a teacher with a student who had not quite understood the lesson yet. "We're learning, Captain. The Alliance has been fighting the Silrath for 8 months. They've learned how the Silrath fight. But they never stop to learn how the Silrath think. And we're going to learn that in a few weeks. We're going to learn enough." Webb returned his attention to the display. "The Silrath are not invincible. Nothing is invincible. Everything has a weakness. We just need to find theirs." Meanwhile, deep in Silrath territory, something else was happening. Nobody in the Alliance knew about it yet. A small team of human soldiers had slipped through the blockade on the first night. They called themselves the Grave Walkers, and they were led by Lieutenant Commander Rias. Rias was a small woman with dark skin and eyes that had seen too much death. She had volunteered for this mission, knowing she might not come back. Her team had spent 2 weeks moving through Silrath space like ghosts. They planted devices on communication nodes. They collected data. They mapped the neural network that connected every Silrath ship and soldier. "The hive mind is beautiful," she reported to Webb during one of their encrypted transmissions. "Terrible, but beautiful. Millions of minds working as one. But it's also their weakness. They've never had to think as individuals. Take away the connection, and they won't know what to do." "Can you disrupt it?" Dr. Mwangi figured out the frequency. "We've planted disruptors on 37 nodes. On your signal, we can cut the network into pieces. But it won't last long. Maybe an hour before they adapt. An hour will be enough." Week 3 passed. Then week 4. The Silrath grew bolder. Their hive mind, called Threat Voice 7 in this sector, analyzed the human behavior and concluded they were afraid. Small, weak, waiting for death. It prepared a final assault that would crush them completely. Thiessen watched from Alliance space, growing more frustrated each day. He demanded updates. He demanded explanations. The humans responded with silence. "What are they doing?" He growled at Errol. "They sit there like prey, waiting to be eaten." "They are doing something," Errol said thoughtfully. "Look at their civilian evacuation routes. They have saved nearly 90% of the population. That is remarkable efficiency. Evacuations do not win wars." "No, but they do reveal priorities." Errol's mandibles clicked. The humans are not trying to win territory. They are trying to save lives while preparing something else. I believe they are setting a trap. A trap? Against the Silrath? Impossible. Perhaps. Errol pulled up the human communication logs. Admiral, something else. Yesterday, all human communications went dark. Complete radio silence. No signals in or out. Equipment failure? All 12 ships at once? No, this is deliberate. They do not want anyone to know what they are doing. Not even us. Thiessen felt a chill run down his spine. He had commanded fleets for 40 years. He knew what radio silence meant. It meant something was about to happen. Something big. He opened a channel to General Webb. Static. He tried again. More static. Finally, a brief message came through. Webb's voice, calm as always. Admiral, thank you for your patience. We'll be ready to begin within 72 hours. I suggest you watch closely. You're about to see something new. What are you planning, General? Tell me. There was a long pause. When Webb spoke again, his voice had changed. Harder, colder. The voice of a man who had made peace with what he was about to do. Admiral Varth, your species fights to survive. We fight to win. They're not the same thing. Watch and learn. The channel closed. Thiessen stood in silence, staring at the display. 12 human ships. 2,000 Silrath biovessels. And somewhere in between, something was about to change. He did not know what the humans were planning. But for the first time since the war began, he felt something other than despair. He felt fear. Not of the Silrath, of the humans. Of what they might be capable of. And underneath the fear, growing stronger by the hour, that dangerous feeling he had tried so hard to suppress. Hope. The Silrath attacked at dawn. 2,000 bioships surged toward the human position like a wave of death. Their living holes pulsed with hunger. Their weapons charged with energy that could crack planets. Threat Voice 7 commanded them all, confident in victory. The small human fleet would be consumed in minutes. Admiral Thiessen watched from Alliance space. His entire command staff had gathered to witness what they believed would be a massacre. Some of them had brought drinks. They expected this to be quick. Silrath fleet entering weapon range in 60 seconds, his sensor officer reported. Thiessen nodded grimly. He had warned the humans. He had told them this was suicide. Now they would learn. 50 seconds. The Silrath formation tightened. Their hive minds synchronized perfectly, each ship knowing exactly where to be, exactly when to fire. 40 seconds. The human ships began to move. Strange patterns. They were not retreating. They were not attacking. They were separating. 30 seconds. Thiessen leaned forward. What are they doing? The 12 human ships came apart. Not destroyed. Deliberately fragmenting. Each vessel split into dozens of smaller craft. Autonomous drones, linked together by invisible signals. The 12 ships became 600 in seconds. Impossible, Errol whispered. Their ships were hiding smaller vessels inside them, like seeds inside fruit. 20 seconds. The Silrath hesitated. Their hive mind recalculated. 600 targets instead of 12. Still manageable. Still certain victory. They adjusted their formation and continued the attack. 10 seconds. General Webb's voice came through on an open channel. One word. Now. Deep inside Silrath territory, Lieutenant Commander Rias pressed a button. 37 signal disruptors activated at once. They broadcast a frequency that Dr. Mwangi had spent weeks perfecting. A frequency tuned to the exact wavelength of Silrath neural communication. The hive mind screamed. For the first time in their species' existence, the Silrath lost contact with each other. Thiessen watched in disbelief as the enemy formation fell apart. Ships that had moved as one perfect unit suddenly scattered in confusion. They fired at each other. They crashed into each other. They stopped moving entirely, their crews frozen without the hive mind to tell them what to do. "What is happening?" he demanded. "What did the humans do?" Earl's compound eyes were wide. "They cut the network. They severed the connections between Silrith minds. Each ship is alone now. Each soldier is thinking for itself for the first time ever." The human drones struck like lightning. They did not target the Silrith at random. They went for specific ships, queen carriers, communication nodes, neural centers, the points that held the hive mind together. Each strike was precise, surgical, devastating. Captain Tanaka commanded her section of drones with cold efficiency. "Target the queen ship at grid 7. Disable, don't destroy. We need it intact." "Why intact?" her weapons officer asked. "Because dead enemies tell no tales. Frightened enemies tell everyone." The battle raged for 6 hours. But it was not really a battle. It was a dissection. The humans took apart the Silrith fleet piece by piece, targeting weaknesses that should have been impossible to find. Every time the Silrith tried to adapt, the humans changed tactics. Every time they tried to regroup, the drones cut them apart again. Threat-Voice-7 experienced something it had never felt before. Confusion, fear, pain. Its perfect unity was shattered. Its certainty was gone. For the first time in its existence, it did not know what to do. The Silrith began to retreat. Thiessen could not believe his eyes. The Silrith never retreated. They advanced until victory or death. But here they were, fleeing from 12 human ships that had become 600, broken by weapons that did not kill their bodies but killed their minds. "They're running," he said. "The Silrith are running." But the humans did not let them run. Not completely. Their drones herded the retreating fleet like animals, pushed them toward specific routes, forced them into patterns. "What are they doing now?" Thiessen asked. "They've won. Why are they still pursuing?" Earl understood. Her mandibles clicked rapidly as the realization hit her. They're not just defeating the Silrith, Admiral. They're teaching them. They're making sure every survivor remembers exactly what happened here. They're creating fear. On the Defiance, General Webb watched the Silrith flee. His face showed no triumph, only grim satisfaction. "Let the queen ships go," he ordered. "Let them carry the message back to the collective. Let them explain how 12 human ships destroyed 2,000 of theirs. Let them try to make sense of what happened here." "Sir," Tanaka said quietly, "we could finish them. Destroy the whole fleet. We could. But dead enemies don't spread fear. Survivors do." Webb turned away from the display. "The Silrith have never lost like this. They've never been made to feel small. That feeling will spread through their entire collective. Every hive mind in their empire will know what happened at Paraxis 7. They'll know that humans found their weakness. And they'll know we can do it again." The battle ended. The Silrith fled into deep space, carrying their terror with them. Paraxis 7 was free. 3 million civilians were safe. The blockade was broken. Thiessen stood in silence for a long time after the last Silrith ship vanished from sensors. His officers were cheering. His communications board lit up with congratulations from across the Alliance. But he could not celebrate. He had just watched something terrifying. Not the battle. The humans. The way they had studied their enemy. The way they had found weaknesses nobody else could see. The way they had taken the Silrith's greatest strength and turned it into their greatest weakness. This was not how wars were fought. This was something else. Something colder. Something more frightening. Earl appeared at his side. "Admiral, your thoughts?" "I was wrong about them," Thiessen said slowly. "The humans. I thought they were children playing at war. And now?" Thiessen watched the celebration around him. but his eyes were distant, thoughtful, afraid. Now I understand why they said they could handle it. They were not boasting. They were not naive. They knew exactly what they were going to do. He paused. The Silrath have conquered 100 species, but they have never met anything like humanity. They have never met a species that fights to win instead of fighting to survive. Is there a difference? Yes, Thiesen's voice was quiet. Survivors accept losses. Winners do not. And the humans are not just winning this battle era. They are rewriting how this war is fought. They are teaching the Silrath something new. What? Thiesen turned away from the display. His gray scale seemed even paler than before. Fear, he said. For the first time in their existence, the Silrath have learned to be afraid. 3 days after the battle, Admiral Thiesen boarded the human flagship. He expected to find celebration, triumph. The humans had done the impossible. They had broken a Silrath offensive with 12 ships. They had saved 3 million lives. They had changed the course of the war. Instead, he found exhaustion. The corridors of the Defiance were quiet. Crew members moved slowly, their eyes distant. Some sat alone in corners, staring at nothing. Others gathered in small groups, speaking in low voices. There was no joy here, no pride, only the heavy silence of people who had done something terrible and were still trying to understand it. General Webb met him in the briefing room. The human commander looked older than he had before the battle. Lines had deepened around his eyes. His shoulders carried a weight that had nothing to do with gravity. Admiral, Webb said, "Thank you for coming. I wanted to understand." Thiesen looked around the empty room. "Your victory was remarkable. Why does your crew look defeated?" Webb was quiet for a long moment. He poured 2 glasses of water and offered one to Thiesen. Human gesture of hospitality. Small but meaningful. "We know what we did," Webb said finally. "We weaponized their biology against them. We turned their greatest strength into their greatest weakness. We made them feel fear for the first time in their existence." He paused. It was effective. It was also cruel. Cruel? They would have killed every civilian on Paraxis 7. They would have consumed your entire fleet without hesitation. That doesn't make what we did less cruel. It just makes it necessary. Webb sat down heavily. "Admiral, do you know why humans fight the way we do? Why we study our enemies so carefully? Why we look for psychological weaknesses instead of just military ones? Because it works. Because we learned it from ourselves." Webb's voice was flat. "We spent 10,000 years fighting each other. War after war after war. We got very good at breaking each other. Very good at finding the thing that made our enemies human and using it against them." He looked at Thiesen directly. "We've done to ourselves everything we just did to the Silrath. And worse." Thiesen did not know what to say. He had studied human history. He knew about their wars. But hearing Webb speak about it, seeing the weight in his eyes, made it real in a way data files never could. "We won today," Webb continued. "But my people are not celebrating because they remember. They remember what happens when you become too good at breaking your enemies. They remember the cost." Thiesen left the briefing room with more questions than answers. He walked through the ship, observing. In the medical bay, he found something that stopped him completely. Human medics were treating Silrath prisoners, not interrogating them, not studying them for weaknesses. Treating them, bandaging wounds, offering water, speaking to them in soft voices even though the Silrath could not understand the words. One young medic caught his attention. The human's uniform identified him as Private First Class David Okonkwo. He was kneeling beside a wounded Silrath drone, carefully cleaning a burn on its carapace. The drone watched him with compound eyes that held something Thiesen had never seen in a Silrath before. Confusion, curiosity, something almost like wonder. Why? The drone asked. Its voice was rough, unused to individual speech. Cut off from the hive mind, it was thinking for itself for the first time. Why do you not kill us? We would kill you. Okonkwo did not stop his work. I know, he said gently. That's why we don't. I do not understand. We've been the monster before. Okonkwo finished cleaning the wound and applied a bandage. We know what it costs. We decided we don't want to be that anymore. The drone was silent for a long time. Finally, it spoke again. You are strange creatures. You defeat us in battle. You break our unity. You make us feel fear. And then you heal our wounds. This makes no sense. It makes sense to us. Okonkwo stood up. Rest now. Someone will bring you food later. He walked away. The drone watched him go with those confused, wondering eyes. Thiessen found Ambassador Chen in a small observation room. She stood at the viewport, watching the stars. Paraxis 7 hung in the distance, no longer surrounded by enemy ships. Free, because of what the humans had done. Ambassador, he said, I have questions. I thought you might. She did not turn around. Ask. The Alliance has fought the Silrith for 8 months. We never thought to take prisoners. We never considered healing their wounded. Why do you? Because the only victory that lasts is one where your enemy stops wanting to fight. Chun finally turned to face him. Dead enemies become martyrs. Tortured enemies become proof that you are the monster they always said you were. But enemies who are shown mercy, enemies who are treated with dignity, they start to wonder if maybe they were wrong about you. You think you can change the Silrith? A hive mind species that has consumed over 100 civilizations? I think we can give them a choice they've never had before. Chun smiled slightly. The Silrith Collective is discussing what happened here right now. They're trying to understand how we won. But they're also trying to understand why we stopped. Why we let their queenships escape. Why we're healing their wounded. And what will they conclude? I don't know. But I know that for the first time in their history, they're asking questions instead of just consuming. That's a start. Thiessen shook his head slowly. I still don't understand you. I asked before what humans really are. You said you learned the hard way. What does that mean? Chen's expression grew serious. It means we've been where the Silrith are now. We've been the conquerors. The destroyers. We've committed atrocities against our own kind that would make even the Silrath pause. And we survived it. We looked at what we have become, and we decided to be something different. You make it sound simple. It wasn't. It took centuries. Millions of deaths. We nearly destroyed ourselves more than once. Chun looked back at the stars. But we're still here. And everything we did to the Silrith? Every tactic, every psychological weapon, every brutal efficiency. We used those on ourselves first. We know exactly how much they hurt because we felt them. That is why your crew looks haunted. Yes, they know what we did was necessary. They also know what it cost. Not just to the Silrith, but to ourselves. She paused. Being good at war is a curse, Admiral. The better you get at breaking your enemies, the more you have to live with afterward. Thiessen stood in silence, processing everything he had heard. Finally, he asked the question that had been burning in his mind since the battle. What comes next? The Silrith will not forgive this defeat. They will return with more ships, more soldiers, more determination. Chun nodded. They might. Or they might do something they've never done before. What? Talk. She turned to face him fully. We didn't just break their fleet, Admiral. Well, we broke their certainty. For the first time, they're facing an enemy they don't understand. An enemy who can hurt them and choose not to destroy them. That kind of confusion creates opportunity. Opportunity for what? Peace, or at least the beginning of peace. Chun's eyes were steady. That's always been the goal. Not conquest. Not revenge. Just a chance to stop fighting. Thiessen thought about that for a long time. It seemed impossible, naive. The Silrith did not make peace. They consumed or they died. But then again, he had thought it was impossible for 12 ships to break 2,000. Maybe the humans were right. Maybe they understood something about war that older species had forgotten. Or maybe they were just foolish enough to hope. Either way, Thiessen realized he was beginning to believe them. 6 months after the Battle of Paraxis 7, something unprecedented happened. The Silrith Collective requested a meeting, not a surrender, not a battle. A meeting. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. Species that had hidden from the Silrith for centuries emerged from their shelters. Civilizations that had given up hope began to hope again. Something fundamental had changed in the balance of power. And everyone knew it. The meeting took place on a neutral station called Haven Point. Representatives from the Corvethi Alliance filled one side of the Great Hall. Humans stood among them now, equal partners in the coalition they had helped save. On the other side, for the first time in recorded history, the Silrith sent a diplomatic delegation. Admiral Thiessen stood near the front, his silver scales gleaming in the artificial light. Beside him was Errol, her compound eyes taking in every detail. Behind them stood Ambassador Chun, General Webb, and the leaders of a dozen other species. The Silrith delegation entered through the opposite door. They moved differently than Silrith usually moved. Less coordinated. More individual. The hive mind was still there, still connecting them, but something had changed. They were thinking for themselves now. At least partially. At their head came something that made the entire hall fall silent. A projection. Massive. Terrible. Beautiful. In a way that made bones ache. Collective Voice Prime. The supreme consciousness of the Silrith Dominion. The mind that connected billions of individuals across 1,000 worlds. It had never appeared to outsiders before. It had never needed to. We have come, the projection said. Its voice was like thunder and whispers combined. We have come because we do not understand. Secretary General Adara Ez stepped forward to represent humanity. She was tall and dignified, with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen the worst of human history and still believed in the best. Then let us help you understand, she said. That is why we are here. Collective Voice Prime studied her with senses that existed beyond normal sight. We have consumed 117 species. We have broken empires that ruled galaxies. We have never been defeated. And then we met you. The hall was utterly silent. You broke our unity, the collective continued. You made us feel fear. You taught us what it means to be alone. We should hate you for this. We should swear eternal vengeance. A pause. But you did something else. Something we cannot explain. What did we do? Ez asked. You showed mercy. You healed our wounded. You let our queen ships escape when you could have destroyed them. You treated our prisoners with dignity. The projection flickered with something that might have been emotion. No species has ever done this. We do not understand why you would. Ez nodded slowly. Because we remember what it's like to be you. We remember being conquerors, destroyers. We remember thinking that strength was the only thing that mattered. And we remember how much it cost us to learn otherwise. You speak of your own history, your wars among yourselves. Yes, we nearly destroyed ourselves more than once. We did terrible things to each other, things that still haunt us. As his voice was steady. But we survived. And we decided that survival wasn't enough. We wanted to be better than what we had been. Collective Voice Prime was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice had changed, softer, almost curious. You did not come here to conquer us. No. You did not come here to destroy us. No. Then why? What do you want from the Silrath? Ez smiled slightly. We want you to have a choice. The same choice we had to make. You can keep consuming other species until someone eventually destroys you. Or you can try something different. You can build instead of destroy. You can connect instead of consume. You can learn that there are other ways to be strong. And if we choose to continue as we are, then we will stop you. Ez's voice hardened. Make no mistake. We showed mercy at Paraxis 7 because we hoped you would understand. But if you threaten innocent lives again, we will do whatever is necessary to protect them. We have not forgotten how to break our enemies. We simply choose not to unless we must. The threat hung in the air. Clear, honest, absolutely sincere. Collective Voice Prime considered for a long time. The entire hall waited. The fate of civilizations hung on what the Silrath would say next. You are unlike anything we have encountered, the projection said finally. You defeat us and show mercy. You threaten us and offer friendship. You are warriors and healers, destroyers and builders. You make no sense. We are human, Ez said simply. We contain contradictions. It's what makes us who we are. Perhaps. The projection flickered again. We will not promise peace. We do not know if peace is possible for us. But we will consider. We will think. We will ask questions we have never asked before. A pause. This is because of you. Because you made us afraid, and then you made us wonder. The Silrath delegation turned to leave. But Collective Voice Prime paused at the door. The species we have consumed, many of them still exist within us. Their memories, their cultures, their identities. The projection turned back. You want us to release those who wish to be free. Yes, Ez said. That is our only condition. It will take time. We do not know how to be separate from those we have absorbed. But we will try. The projection began to fade. You are strange creatures, humans. Terrible and wonderful. We do not know if we will ever understand you. But we will try to understand ourselves. Perhaps that is a beginning. The Silrath were gone. The hall erupted in chaos, cheering, crying, embracing. 100 species celebrating something that had seemed impossible just 6 months ago. Beeson found himself standing beside General Webb as the celebration swirled around them. I underestimated your species, Thiessen said. I thought you were children playing at war. Webb shook his hand. Human gesture of respect. We were never playing Admiral. We just remember what we're playing for. And what is that? Webb looked around at the celebration. Species that had been enemies for centuries were talking, laughing, beginning to build something new. Everyone, Webb said simply. We're playing for everyone. Even the ones who don't know they need saving yet. Later, as the delegations departed, Earl finished her analysis of human warfare. It would be distributed to every species in the Alliance. Her conclusion would be studied for generations. She wrote, Humans do not fight like predators or prey. They fight like a species that has stared into its own extinction and decided never again. They are not the most powerful species in the galaxy. They are the most determined. Their greatest weapon is not technology or tactics. It is memory. They remember what they almost became, and they will not become it again. Ambassador Chun stood at a viewport, watching the Silrath fleet depart. A young Alliance officer approached her. Do you think it will hold? He asked. The peace? Chun watched the stars for a long moment. Somewhere out there, the Silrath were beginning a journey they had never imagined. Somewhere out there, absorbed species were hoping for freedom. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was changing. Peace isn't something you hold, she said finally. It's something you build every day with everyone willing to help build it. She turned from the viewport and smiled. Now let's get to work. The war was not over. There would be setbacks, failures, moments when hope seemed foolish. But something had changed that day at Haven Point. Something fundamental. The Silrith had learned to question themselves. The Alliance had learned that mercy could be stronger than hate, thought, and humanity. Had shown the galaxy something ancient species had forgotten. That the measure of strength was not how thoroughly you could destroy your enemy's dot. It was how completely. You could imagine a world where you didn't have to